There's a psychotherapist called Daniel Dennett. When he was asked the question, what is happiness? He said, find something more important than you and dedicate your life to it. And I think that's what drives me really, is that there's a sense of something that's beyond you that you attach yourself to, that makes either a quiet or loud but indelible change for the future. That's in how people experience their work, that's in how people develop into something they never thought they could be, but in something that's got the future of the world and humanity at its heart. HR and the people profession might be looked at as administrative and strategic advisors to organisations, but really they're liberating people to find who they are and what they're here to do. I spent time in administration, projects, technology. Where I found myself coming most to life in the work I did was in the complex intersection between leading others, work, and people. And HR operates in that intersection. So we take some of the most complex and challenging aspects of business and work and link them to people, both in what they're there to do, what their future prospects are, and how well they're led in delivering to that. So it may not always be evident that HR is driving that particular part of the business world, but our unique perspectives and the operational side of what we do is just one factor. Our real powerhouse is in creating a design structure for people to flourish in the work they do and deliver outstanding things in the world of work. I think where I am professionally today, what's equipped me for it is partly a restlessness. I've always looked at issues and challenges that seem difficult to solve and wanted to be part of that solution. I've always had that curiosity about why do things work as they do, both in a working system sense and in a people and leadership sense. And I think just that determination to do things. Lots of people seem quite happy to talk about problems and issues and almost state the obvious, but doing something about it, that's what really makes the difference for me. So I think wanting to do something about it, being curious about what caused it in the first place, and having a determination to be part of that resolution, I suppose. I think that's what's got me to where I am today and what I am continually striving for. In 5 years' time, where do I see myself? I think I see myself in the midst of a profession that's unrecognisable to now. I think we will have conquered some of the things that have held us back. I think we'll have stepped into new arenas that we thought were outside our reach. And I'll be really happy to be part of that. And I'd be really, really happy if I was writing about what's next beyond that. So I think in 5 years' time, I would like to see that, and I'd also like to be putting together the components of what's next after that. In recommending who to read, watch and listen, I think about people who are above some of the categorization that we see in lots of thought leaders, business leaders, entrepreneurs, whatever it is. So I like people like Rutger Bregman, who's a historian but also an economist, and he's a political agitator, and he's a great storyteller. So there's one example. In the business world, we've got people like Rita McGrath, who are brilliant around strategy and how we deliver. But I'm starting to see some emerging economic thinkers who are stepping into that space too. So Mariana Mazzucato has written a book called The Moonshot Economy, and it's really about what we could do with economic thinking. Kate Raworth's done the same thing with her donut economic theory. I'm quite liking the fact that people are taking the current capitalist economic system and saying growth and the extraction principles have to come to an end, and here's how we can do that. That's much more in balance with the planet. So I think people who've got that macro view and can operate across those boundaries are people worth looking into. Two of the most interesting projects I've worked on recently, one is in local government and one is in the technology industry. Now, the local government one is interesting because it's a city council really pioneering the way they want to be assessed on the impact and value they create for the citizens of that particular borough. So I was asked to take the thinking to an operational approach in how they shift responsibilities, accountabilities, manage projects, opportunities, and really deploy the resources that that organisation has. That's starting to really bear fruit in the innovation and the togetherness that's being shown in that leadership team, and their ambition and their diversification on what matters to the citizens of that borough. That's more interesting than most people would credit local authorities and local government to be. The second one is a technology company who are in the data and consumer choice industry. And what's really different about them is they want to set themselves up as a really growth-oriented but sustainable organisation that's not been seen before, that practices things that are incredibly different and challenging and pioneering. So that's really stretched me, because rather than deploying existing methods, I'm having to almost craft things that are totally unique with them. But their spirit, their agenda and their application to it and their open-mindedness means I'm really willing to step into that challenge. And that's an organisation I think in a couple of years' time people will talk about like people do Spotify and so on. So I think they're really going to push boundaries, and getting involved in an organisation like that with that much pioneering spirit really gets me alive. Unexpectedly, I think people would associate me as being an extrovert and right in the thick of lots of vivid conversations and lively environments. But during the pandemic, I've discovered my introversion and my sense of actually solitude and thoughtfulness and being able to apply my thinking in a more quiet environment I've really grown into. So I don't think I'll be jumping back into my extrovert costume in a hurry. What else might be unexpected about me? I'm incredibly studious and I read enormous amounts. And I suppose people might not really appreciate that about me and just think that I'm some kind of crazy idealist with wild dreams. But actually they normally are inspired by things that are real and have been researched and written about. So people might think that's so off the wall, that's crazy. It's like, actually it's not. It's come from something that's worked. So I think somebody once described Steve Jobs not as a supreme innovator, but a great adapter of others. Walter Isaacson's biography on him. And I think that's what I am. I'm a bit of a remixer and a tinkerer. I don't think I have many original thoughts, but I can amalgamate others into something that might look pretty unique. So I think that might be unexpected about me. I'm incredibly, deeply read on things and not at all a creative artist by any stretch. I'm phenomenally interested in why people behave how they do. So I might be studying psychology and understanding, I think, that connection between people and systems. So I'm quite near to that now, but I think I'd probably like to do it from much more of a scientific standpoint so that I could be much more research-led and intricate about understanding why systems and people interact how they do. So I guess I'd be academic in some way. I'd probably be one of those people doing those experiments that get a name, whether it's the Hawthorne experiment or whatever it is. I think I'd want to be one of those people testing some psychological concept that then gets reeled out on talks and written about in books. I think that's what I'd be doing.